Good afternoon, everybody. It's May 24, 2024. It's Friday. It's just after 5 p.m. here in rural Kentucky. It's sunny. It was very cloudy this morning, and actually the weather report says we were going to have clouds all day, but you can't rely on the weather forecast because it was sunny most of the day. But it's very balmy and humid and warm. But I wanted to read something to you. I received it via a subscriber. Thank you, subscriber, who sent it to me via email. Sorry for that. My buzzer just went off that my clothing is dry. So anyway, this is an article, 13 pages long, from 1973. I'm not sure if I got that right. It's either 73 or 76, but either way, it's a long time ago. I was just graduating high school in January of 76. So this is, it's called America's Secret Police Network. And I'm going to read, not all of it, I'm not going to read all 13 pages, but I'm going to read some of the important takebacks from it so that you can see that this is not something that's new. This has been going on for a long time. But please remember to hit the thumbs up. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. I moved from Manalapan, New Jersey, 52 Sutton Drive, where I lived at home for 30 years as original owner. I became targeted there. And yes, the Manalapan Police Department was involved in my targeting and harassing me. And they moved in people around me after the long-term neighbors who'd lived there, 20 years, moved out. They moved all these criminal informants in around me. And they were targeting me, my home, vandalizing my home, breaking in when I wasn't there, vandalizing new items. I had renovated my house top to bottom to get it set to sell. I mean, I always knew that I was going to sell and move out of the state. And each step of the way that I incrementally upgraded the house, each one of those items was then vandalized. It was incessant, nonstop. It was off the charts. I incurred more than $300,000 in damages to my house. And that's all that I'm aware of, okay? That's all that I had to replace. $4,000 was stolen from my painter. His name is John or Jonathan Plummer, Plummer. And yes, I reported him to the Manalapan Police Department. He did nothing. They did nothing. They didn't even write up the incident report. In fact, none of my incident reports ever made it to the police blog. And if it doesn't make it to the police blog, it'll never get to the newspaper. So anyway, that's my little quick backstory. And then I moved to rural Kentucky and the targeting continues. But the difference is, I knew a lot of people in New Jersey. I lived there for so long. I knew everybody's comings and goings, which is why I knew when things started switching up that they weren't going to get over on me with everything that was going on around me. But here I moved to rural Kentucky. I knew nobody. So how can I move somewhere knowing no one? And everybody knows my business and slandering me everywhere. How would they have any information on me at all, except that they were handed one of these fake dossiers that the fusion centers concoct, InfraGard, goes through the community, your FBI agents. We've posted these videos online. You've all seen them, where they infiltrate the neighborhoods. But make no mistake, the FBI whistleblowers, Stephen Friend and the others, it's 2 or 3 others, have specifically stated that the sheriff is the law of the land. The sheriff can turn away all of these agents and say, no, it's not coming into my community. It's not coming into my jurisdiction. Bye-bye. You are not going to take over my jurisdiction. Okay? You're not going to bring these illegal, corrupt programs into my neighborhood. Yes, the sheriff has the power to say no to the county lawyer and the FBI. That's right. But they don't. They invite them in and then they take over, okay? And it's all a crapshoot. It's all money under the table, organized crime. It's the America's Secret Police Network. Okay, so I'm going to start reading. And please remember to hit the thumbs up to welcome newcomers. I just want to give you that little backdrop for the newcomers who are not sure of who I am and what I'm doing here. You could also go to my channel homepage and read the description there. So this clandestine web of police spies links almost every major city in the United States and Canada, but it is so secret. It's so secret. Shh. It's so secret that few people even know it exists, and so powerful that it does as it pleases while answering to no one. Remember, this was written in the 1970s, okay? It's the 1970s. This is a long time ago. So at that point, very few people knew about this secret police. They didn't know it existed. They didn't know how powerful it was. They didn't know that it did as it pleased while answering to no one. Has any of that changed? Please leave a comment down below. So in today's society, blackmail has replaced physical force as the currency of political power brokerage. J. Edgar Hoover knew that the power lies between manila covers of a personal dossier. You see what I mean? Like a manila folder of a personal dossier, and he used that knowledge to build and maintain his empire for almost half a century. The FBI, the CIA, and virtually every other agency given the authority to spy, to defend us. Oh yeah, doing a good job defending everybody by spying on us. Yeah, good job. Given the authority to spy to defend us from foreign and domestic enemies. Yeah, I don't know. Bring it on through the borders, everybody. Yeah, we're doing a great job preventing the foreign and domestic enemies. Have sooner or later gone off the reservation and used their power to steal our liberties. In contrast to the CIA and FBI, the Law Enforcement Intelligence Unit, that's LEIU, is a little-known organization. In fact, almost no one knows it has ever heard of it, but its power is considerable, and its potential threat to our freedom is enormous. The LEIU links the intelligence squads of almost every major police force in the United States and Canada. Although its members are sworn police officers who work for state and city governments, it is a private club, not answerable to voters or taxpayers or elected officials. It cuts across the vertical lines of authority and local government, for its members hold certain allegiances to the group that cannot be countermanded by a mayor, a county manager, or even a state governor. It didn't say anything about a sheriff, though. The organization forms a vast network of intelligence units that exchange dossiers and conduct investigations on reciprocal basis. Several of the police departments belonging to the group have recently been caught in illegal wiretapping, burglary, and spying on the private lives of ordinary citizens. The LEIU is, in effect, a huge private domestic intelligence agency. Remember, this is the 1970s. The LEIU is not a secret organization, says Lieutenant Ray Henry, Chief of Intelligence for the Long Branch, California Police Department and the organization's national chairman. The LEIU is so secret that until recently, even its existence was usually denied, says Douglas Durham, a former Des Moines police officer who claims to have worked as an undercover investigator for the group. The LEIU is not a secret society, but it may very well be. Several Washington, D.C. lawyers who specialize in personal privacy and civil liberties cases told me that they have never heard of the organization. Even among many police officers, the LEIU is something of a mystery. One former California cop thought the name referred to the LA Police Department's intelligence squad. And an investigator for California District Attorney's Office described the LEIU as, quote-unquote, extremely hush-hush, extremely low profile. The LEIU's low profile has succeeded in keeping the organization out of the public view for 20 years. The group was founded, get this, guys, the group was founded March 1956 at a secret meeting called by Captain James E. Hamilton, then commander of the LAPD intelligence squad, and by several other senior California police officials. So this started in California. Representatives from 26 police and sheriff's departments in 7 western states attended the meeting and became charter members. By 1967, the organization had grown to include 70 police forces across the United States, and by 1975, more than 225 law enforcement agencies were involved, including 6 in Canada. The thing is a monster network, says Lake Headley, a former Las Vegas deputy sheriff who belonged to the LEIU in the late 1950s. It was Captain Hamilton's brainchild. He wanted to take police intelligence away from the FBI. Police departments do the street-level work and collect information, and Hamilton didn't like the idea of turning it over to the FBI and making them the monitor, so he formed the LEIU to circumvent the FBI's network. Interesting, huh? It was established to form an intelligence network independent of any federal agency. The LEIU is a combination of fraternal, key word, fraternal organization and functioning intelligence agency. What comes to mind when you hear the word fraternal organization? I don't know. For some reason, the 3 Masons are just popping into my brain. The LEIU is divided into 4 geographic zones: Eastern, Central, Northwestern, and Southwestern. Each zone is governed by a chairman and a vice chairman. Nationally, there's also a general chairman, a general vice chairman, a secretary, and a treasurer. The national and zone officers comprise a 12-member executive board which governs the organization. The LEIU holds national and regional conventions every year. Lake Headley describes the conventions as, quote-unquote, big club meetings. It's not easy to join the LEIU. When applying for membership, a police force must be sponsored by another agency already in the LEIU and must be endorsed by 3 others. All members are notified of the application, and the LEIU carries out a thorough investigation of the applicant agency and the officers who work for it and will take part in the LEIU activities. Finally, the executive board votes on the application. It's very selective, very elitist sort of thing, says former member Lake Headley. Quote, in a local intelligence squad, you kind of look to the LEIU man to jump into a phone booth and come out dashing out in a Superman suit. The protective cloak of obscurity shielding the LEIU from public view was briefly lifted last year when a Houston, Texas police department left the organization. And then they give a list. Here, let me show you. The following confidential membership list of the LEIU was compiled October 73, is probably still at least 90% accurate. Now, this was 1976. The following abbreviations are also used. So here you go. So, and it goes on and on. It covers every state. Okay, so let me just scroll down, get to reading some more. The Houston police officials announced that their department was resigning from the LEIU after it had received requests from other member agencies for information on the private lives of people with absolutely no criminal connections. See, this has been going on a long time. And was an ethical person there. They removed themselves from the LEIU after it had received requests from other member agencies for information on the private lives of people with absolutely no criminal connections. In one instance cited by the Houston officials, a California police department asked for a full-scale investigation of a highly respected Houston businessman who had requested a liquor license to sell beer in a chain of grocery stores in California. The inquiry reportedly included a request for information about the man's investments, his business associates' family life, and even his sex habits. This is how they're doing it to you and I. The LEIU National Chairman Ray Henry denies the allegation, describing it as a bunch of sour grapes. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The Houston Police Department didn't quit the LEIU, according to Lieutenant Henry. They were kicked out by me because they had something like 200 officers indicted for illegal wiretapping. Oh. See, this is what happens. This is what happens to traitors. Traitors. Not trade. Traitors. This is what happens to traitors. You join an organization like this, and then an event happens just like this, and then they're not going to protect your ass. No. They're going to say, no, they were kicked out by me because you had 200 officers indicted for illegal wiretapping. And why were they illegal wiretapping? Because they joined the LEIU. And then the LEIU had that on them to frame them. That's right. That's the way it works. He says, we're not going to put up with that kind of crap. Lieutenant Henry said that he had a postal resignation receipt to prove that the Houston Police Department was expelled from the LEIU prior to its announcement resignation. And he added that the present Houston Chief of Police had denied the earlier charges by his subordinates that the LEIU spied on non-criminal subjects. See, this is how they twist the facts. This is the slander. This is the lie. The self-proclaimed sensitivity of the Houston cops to the privacy of ordinary citizens does seem a bit implausible in view of the department's own record, which has recently come to light. Houston has been a scene of one of the major police spying scandals of recent years involving the department's Criminal Intelligence Division, the FBI, and the Southwestern Bell Telephone Company. The affair probably was the cause of Houston's expulsion from the LEIU, although Lieutenant Henry's pious condemnation of the department's illegal wiretapping serves to mask what is probably the LEIU's true reason for expelling the Texas cops. In 1973, Houston elected liberal Democrat Fred Hofheinz as mayor. Hofheinz promptly made good his campaign promise to replace Houston's hardline law and order police chief, whose department had frequently been charged with brutality to blacks. Hofheinz's new chief, Carol M. Lynn, soon discovered that under his predecessor, the police department had carried out a 10-year program of political spying. The Criminal Intelligence Division had amassed dossiers on more than 1,000 non-criminal subjects. Most of the individuals spied on were liberals, black activists, or civil libertarians, although the cops had also taken an interest in some conservatives. Chief Lynn found dossiers on liberal Congresswoman Barbara Jordan and Congressman Bob Casey. There was also a thick file on Fred Hofheinz, the new mayor. The police spy files were chock full of personal information, often including sexual gossip, and much of the data could have been acquired only through wiretapping. Texas has no state law for regulating wiretapping, and under a 1968 federal statute, local police in such states are forbidden to tap phones under any circumstances. Electronic eavesdropping can be done only by federal agents with a court order. The probe disclosed that the Houston police had conducted more than 1,000 illegal wiretaps during a 7-year period. 7 is a Saturn cycle, men and women, boys and girls. The files of the Houston Criminal Intelligence Division were sequestered on order of a federal judge and were turned over to a federal grand jury investigating the affair. The sequestered files included not only the standard CID dossiers, but also one full set of the special files of the LEIU, the complete assortment of intelligence information that Captain Hamilton and his successors had succeeded in keeping out of the hands of the federal authorities for almost 20 years. In other words, of Lieutenant Henry, the Houston cops had permitted the LEIU files to be seized by civilians, and in this surrender, rather than the telephone tapping, that seems the more plausible explanation for the Houston's expulsion from the LEIU. Custody of those files is the most sacred trust that the organization bestows among its individual members. Of course, because they're fake dossiers. They're a bunch of lies. Can you imagine if that gets in the wrong hands, how they could be sued for libel, defamation, and slander, and for any other thing that was done to them, the loss of income? Amazing. So the former member, Lake Headley, recalls that access to the locked LEU file cabinets could not be shared by two officers working on the same case unless both were LEIU members. Today, all officers assigned full-time to the intelligence squad of a regular member agency are considered LEIU members and have full access to the files. In some instances, a police officer is designated as an affiliate member of the LEIU, meaning that he, but not the police department for which he works, belongs to the LEIU. He's the only person in the entire department who may look at the LEIU files. Even a request by the chief of police or by a police commissioner would have been refused. So there's a lot more to this. I'm only on page 5. Let's see. We've had numerous cases where some political figure has tried to gain access. We had an agency not so long ago where our members voluntarily resigned from the LEIU and returned the files because they weren't sure they could keep their mayor away from them. Non-members would have the need to know or the right to know. Freedom of information and privacy laws enacted by the federal government and several of the states give every citizen the right to know what is in government files, especially dossiers in which his own name may be. But the LEIU is completely exempt from such laws. The LEIU is a private club and therefore not subject to the freedom of information or privacy laws. That's sort of like InfraGard and fusion centers, right? They're not subject to FOIA requests, although you can request directly any information from any 501c3 nonprofit. Thus, the LEIU files are more secret than those of the CIA or the FBI. So I'm going to end on that note. I hope you find this interesting. This is a PDF. I'm not permitted to post these outside links on YouTube and stuff. So if anybody wants a copy of this full 13-page PDF, email me at alternativehomesteading@gmail.com, and I will be happy to attach it for you. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this very interesting information from 1973 to 1976. And what do? We expose them all. We expose the organized persecution, the smear campaign, the warnings about the fake warnings about the target, the tactics, the gang stalker subculture. But all right, it's a big secret. It's a secret. However, we all know who's involved. Citizen Corp, Neighborhood Watch, cops, citizens on patrol funded by the Department of Justice, your sheriff's department, some police, your neighbors, the Freemasons, clubs, organizations, religious organizations. Yeah, religious organizations are involved. The local pharmacy and psychiatrists and medical doctors, they're all bribed and blackballed. Blackmailed. Now please remember to leave a comment down below. Hit the thumbs up. Helps the channel grow. Get the message out there. Please feel free to share if you feel inclined to do so. I hope everybody's doing well on this Friday and hope you're going to have a good rest of the day.